Hello and welcome to the Heal and Grow podcast, a space where you can slow down, clear your mind, and quietly rebuild yourself while improving your English. One simple sentence at a time. If you clicked on this video, there's a high chance you've been feeling something lately. Not exactly pain, but not okay either. You wake up, you go through your day. You do what you're supposed to do. But deep down, something feels off. Maybe you've been asking yourself, what am I really doing? Or why does everything feel so unclear? And here's the truth that most people don't tell you. You're not lost because you're failing. You're lost because your life is changing faster than your mind can understand. And that gap between where you are and where you think you should be, that's what creates the pressure. The doubt, the quiet anxiety you carry every day. You try to fix it. You try to think more, plan more, push more. But somehow, the more you try, the heavier everything feels. If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. And I just want to say, I truly appreciate you for being here. I know you had many choices, many videos you could click on, but you chose to stay and to take a moment for yourself. And I'm really grateful and also proud of you for choosing to grow. Even when things feel unclear, I didn't create this podcast just to teach English. You can learn English anywhere. I created this because I know what it feels like to look fine on the outside, but feel disconnected on the inside. And I also know most people don't need more advice. They need clarity. They need space. They need a different way to think. That's why this is a 1-hour episode. Not because you need more information, but because you need enough time to slow down your thoughts, to stop rushing, and to finally hear yourself again. In the next hour, we're not going to push you. We're not going to tell you to fix your life. We're going to do something much simpler and much more powerful. We're going to help you see things clearly. Because when you see clearly, you naturally feel calmer. And when you feel calmer, you make better decisions without forcing. And as you listen, your English will also improve. Naturally, not by trying hard, but by understanding, feeling, and repeating gently. So don't worry if you don't understand every word. Just stay here. Your mind will take what it needs. Right now, you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to become a new person overnight. You just need a quieter mind and one small step forward. And maybe this is where that step begins. You can buy a gym membership, but you can't buy discipline. You can buy medicine, but you can't buy a truly healthy body. You can buy a beautiful house, but you can't buy the feeling of peace inside it. And if you think about it, some of the most important things in life are exactly like this. You can pay for the tools. You can pay for the environment, but you can't pay for the result that actually matters. So then, here's a quiet question. If these things cannot be bought, do we really have to earn them? Because a lot of people try. They try to earn peace by controlling everything. They try to earn health by pushing themselves harder. They try to earn love by being perfect. And yet, they still feel tired, still feel restless, still feel like something is missing. So maybe, just maybe, we've been looking at this the wrong way. What if a calm mind, a healthy body, and a loving home are not things you buy, and not even things you earn. What if they come from something much simpler than that? Think about your day. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is already running. Notifications, messages, plans, pressure. In just a few minutes, your head is full. No one gave you that stress. You didn't buy it. But somehow, it's there. And if you look closely, it didn't come from your life. It came from your thinking. We often believe that a calm mind is something we have to achieve. We try to control our thoughts, fix them, replace them, improve them. But thoughts don't work like that. Thoughts are more like weather. They come and go. Some days are clear, some days are cloudy. You don't control the sky. But you don't have to chase every cloud either. A calm mind is not a mind without thoughts. It's a mind that doesn't believe every thought it hears. You can have a thought that says, "I'm not good enough," or "I'm behind," or "I need to do more." But a thought is just a sentence in your head. It feels real, but it's not always true. And the moment you stop treating every thought like a fact, something shifts. A small space appears. That space is calm. You didn't earn it. You simply stopped disturbing it. Now think about your body. We've been taught that health comes from effort. More discipline, more training, stricter routines. Push harder. Try harder. And to be fair, this is not completely wrong. Because without effort, nothing really changes. If you never move your body, never pay attention to what you eat, never build any routine, health will not magically appear. So yes, effort matters. Discipline matters. Action matters. But here's where it becomes interesting. If effort alone was the answer, then everyone who pushes hard would be healthy. And that's not what we see. We see people who train intensely but get injured. People who follow strict diets but feel exhausted. People who stay disciplined for a while and then burn out. So the problem is not effort itself, but how we use effort. There are two kinds of effort. One comes from pressure. I have to fix myself. I'm not enough yet. I need to push harder. This kind of effort can work, but only for a short time because it is driven by tension, and tension cannot last forever. The other kind of effort comes from care. I want to take care of my body. I want to feel better. I want to support myself. This effort looks softer, but it lasts much longer. So maybe your body doesn't need extreme effort all the time, but it also doesn't mean doing nothing. It needs something in between. It needs consistency, it needs sleep, it needs simple food, it needs movement. Not punishment. A healthy body is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It's something you support every day, not perfectly, but steadily. Like a plant, you don't ignore it, but you also don't pull it to make it grow faster. You water it, you give it light, and you come back again and again. Health works the same way. It grows when effort becomes sustainable, when discipline becomes gentle, and when taking care of yourself no longer feels like a fight. And then there is something even more delicate. Not your body this time, but your relationships, your home. Many people believe that love comes from finding the right person, the right partner, the right environment, the right situation. And again, this is not completely wrong. The right person matters. The right environment matters. But if that were enough, then every perfect match would last forever. And that's not what we see. Even when people find the right person, things can still fall apart. Because love is not something you find once and keep forever. It's something you create every day. In how you listen, in how you speak, in how you react when things are not easy. A home does not feel warm because it is beautiful. It feels warm because of how people treat each other inside it. And just like your body, it's not about one big effort. It's about small things, repeated over time. And this is where everything becomes clear. These things, calm, health, love, are not things you can buy. But they are also not things you need to fight to earn. They are the natural result of how you live. There is a quiet paradox in life. The more you try to get something, the more you feel like you don't have it. The more you chase calm, the more restless you become. The more you chase happiness, the more you notice what's missing. And I didn't understand this before. I used to think I just needed to try harder, to fix myself, to become better, faster, stronger. But the more I pushed, the more tired I felt. Because deep down, when you chase something, you are telling yourself, I don't have it yet. And that feeling quietly grows. But something changed for me when I stopped asking, how do I get this? And started asking, how am I living right now? And that question is softer, but also more honest. Because maybe you don't need to add more. Maybe you need to remove what is unnecessary. The extra pressure, the constant comparison, the habit of believing every thought, the need to push yourself all the time. A calm mind appears when you stop following every thought. A healthy body appears when you treat your body with steady care, not extreme force. A loving home appears when you choose kindness, patience, and understanding in small daily moments. And here is something I wish someone told me earlier. You are not starting from zero. You have already felt calm before. You have already had days when your body felt light. You have already experienced real connection. These things are not far away. They are just covered by noise, by habits, by the way we rush through life. So maybe you don't need to rebuild your whole life. Maybe you just need to slow down enough to see what is already there. You don't need to become a perfect version of yourself. You just need to sleep a little earlier, move a little more gently, speak a little more softly, and stop believing every thought that passes through your mind. Small things, repeated quietly, really do change everything. And maybe the sentence we started with can be understood in a different way. The most important things in life cannot be bought, and they don't need to be earned through struggle. They come from the way you live each day. So take a breath. Really take one. You don't need to rush. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to live a little differently. And if you stay with that gently long enough, you might realize something very surprising. What you've been looking for was never really missing. It was just waiting for you to slow down and notice it. If you feel tired today and you don't really know why, stay with me for a moment. Maybe it is not because life is too hard. Maybe it is because you have been trying too hard to be okay. You keep going. You keep smiling. You keep telling yourself just a little more. But inside you feel heavy. There is a quiet voice in your head that keeps saying you are not enough yet. You should be better. You should be further. And slowly that voice starts to feel like the truth. But what if that voice is not the truth? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly enough, just as you are? Not when you achieved something, not when someone praised you, just you being you. For many people, that moment is very rare, because we learned early in life that we only have value when we improve. So we push ourselves, we rush, we compare, we try to become someone else. And without noticing, we start hurting ourselves in the name of growth. We think growth must feel hard, must feel like pressure, must feel like we are always behind. So even when we are tired, we keep going because we are afraid that if we stop, we will fall behind. But listen carefully. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because you have been strong for too long without kindness. There is a quote from Carl Rogers that says, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." We often believe we need to change first. Then we can accept ourselves. But maybe it works the other way around. Maybe real growth begins the moment we stop fighting who we are right now. Now let's talk about that voice in your head. At first, it may have helped you. It told you to try harder, to do better, to not fall behind. But over time, it became louder and harsher. It stopped guiding you and started pushing you. It tells you that you are too slow, not good enough, not doing enough. And the most dangerous part is that you start believing that voice is you. But here is the truth. If you can hear that voice, then you are not that voice. You are the one who is listening. In psychology, there is a simple idea. Thoughts are not facts. Just because you think something does not mean it is true. Imagine you're standing by the ocean and waves come and go. Some waves are strong, some are quiet, but you don't jump into every wave. You just stand there and watch. Thoughts work the same way. You don't have to believe every thought, you don't have to follow every voice. You can pause and gently say, "I hear you," and then ask, "Is this really true right now?" This small pause can change everything, because it gives you space, and in that space, you are free again. Growing without pressure does not mean you stop improving. It means you stop hurting yourself while improving. It means you move forward, but you don't push yourself down. It means you grow, but you don't lose yourself. There is another idea from James Clear. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. But your system is not only your habits, it is also how you treat yourself every day. If your system is full of pressure, you will feel heavy. If your system has kindness, you will feel safe to grow. So maybe you don't need a new goal, maybe you just need a softer way to move forward. Try this today. Instead of saying, "I must change," say, "I will stay with myself." Stay with yourself when you are tired. Stay with yourself when you are slow. Stay with yourself even when you feel not good enough. Because leaving yourself is what creates suffering. Discipline built on self-hate will never last. But discipline built on respect is quiet, steady, and strong. It says, "I care about myself. That's why I show up. That's why I try again." Not because you are not enough, but because you matter. And you don't need to fix your whole life today. Growth is not one big decision, it is hundreds of small choices. Choosing to rest when you are tired, choosing to forgive yourself when you make a mistake, choosing to come back instead of giving up, choosing not to disappear from your own life. There is a beautiful reminder from Brené Brown. Talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. Think about that. Would you talk to your friend the way you talk to yourself? Would you tell them they are not enough, too slow, failing? Or would you say, "It's okay, you're trying. I'm here with you." You deserve that same kindness. Not later, not when you are better, but now. So if today you feel tired, maybe you don't need more motivation, maybe you just need permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to breathe. Permission to be enough for today. Let me remind you gently. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are learning how to grow in your own way, at your own pace. And that is enough. Grow without pressure is possible, but only if you understand it the right way. If you understand it the wrong way, it becomes something else. It becomes an excuse to stay the same, an excuse to not try. And that is not real growth. Real growth is different. You still show up. You still try. You still move forward. But you stop being so hard on yourself. You don't grow by scaring yourself. You grow by taking small steps, again and again. Think about it. When you feel calm, your mind is clearer. When you are not afraid, you are more willing to try. And when you stop judging yourself, you don't waste energy on doubt. You use that energy to get better. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep going in your own way. Some days you feel good. Some days you feel lost. That's normal. That's part of growing. Growth is not fast. It is not loud, but it is real. So tonight, don't ask, "Am I good enough yet?" Just ask, "Did I try today?" And if the answer is yes, that is enough. You are already growing, not with pressure, but with patience, with understanding, and with kindness. And that kind of growth, it stays with you. Self-care can feel uncomfortable for a reason. It is not only because it asks you to do hard things. It is also because it shows you things about yourself that you may not want to see. Many people think self-care is soft and relaxing. They imagine slow mornings, candles, tea, or a quiet walk in the sun. And yes, sometimes self-care can look like that. But very often, real self-care feels different. It feels quiet in a way that makes your thoughts louder. It feels like sitting alone and noticing something important. You start to see that your stress is not only from your job or your schedule or other people. Sometimes it also comes from how you treat yourself every day. This is why self-care can feel uncomfortable. Because when you stop distracting yourself, you start to see more clearly. And sometimes, seeing is harder than doing. Many people think they are bad at self-care. They think they are lazy or not disciplined. But that is not always true. Sometimes, self-care feels hard because it removes noise. It takes away distractions. It creates a quiet moment. And in that quiet moment, you meet yourself. Not the version you show to others. Not the version that says, "I'm fine," but the tired version, the anxious version, The version that always says yes. The version that is always busy. The version that knows how to work, but not always how to feel. That is why real self-care can feel very different from what we see online. It is not always calm at first. Sometimes it shows you the truth. Sometimes it helps you see that what you called being strong was just trying to survive. Sometimes it shows that what you called being productive was actually fear. And sometimes it shows that what you called being easygoing was just ignoring your own needs. That is the interesting thing about self-care. Many people think it means doing more for yourself, but often it starts with seeing more of yourself. And seeing is not always easy. Imagine this. Tonight, you decide not to scroll your phone. You sit quietly for 10 minutes before sleeping. It sounds simple, but when you do it, your mind becomes noisy. You remember things you have been avoiding. You feel how tired you are. You notice that you have been busy all day without thinking. Suddenly, your phone looks very attractive again. Not because you are weak, but because distraction helps you avoid these feelings. Or maybe you try journaling. You think it will feel peaceful. But instead, you write something honest. I feel lonely. I feel tired. I don't know what I want. I keep saying I'm okay, but I'm not. This is also self-care. Not because it feels good, but because it is honest. And honesty is a kind of care. There is another reason why self-care feels difficult. It asks you to care for a future version of yourself. A calmer you. A healthier you. A less tired you. But this is not easy. Because we like things that feel good now. We understand today's comfort more than tomorrow's peace. We want results quickly. But self-care works slowly. You go to bed early, but the next morning feels the same. You say no to something, but you still feel guilty. You eat better, but you still feel heavy. You take a walk, but your mind is still busy. This is where many people stop. They think, if it works, why do I still feel like this? But self-care is not a quick reward. It is something you build over time. It is like saving energy for your future. Think about this. Every time you choose to take care of yourself, you are helping a future version of you. The person who will feel less tired because you chose to sleep. The person who will feel less stressed because you finished something important. The person who will trust themselves more because you respected your limits. At the beginning, you may not see the result. You may still feel tired or confused. But slowly, something is changing. You are building a new habit. You are building a new relationship with yourself. Self-care is also connected to your identity. Every small action is like a vote. When you drink water, rest, or say no, you are saying, I care about myself. Not in a big dramatic way. In a small, quiet way. And that is enough. The problem is, many of these actions are not exciting. Nobody celebrates them. Nobody says good job when you go to bed early or leave a stressful conversation. But these are important moments. They are private. Only you know them. And that makes them harder but also more meaningful. There is also sadness in self-care, and people don't talk about this much. When you start caring for yourself, you may see your old habits more clearly. You may see how often you said yes when you wanted to say no. How often you pushed yourself too hard. How often you stayed in places that made you unhappy. This can feel painful, but it does not mean you are going backward. It means you are seeing clearly. And sometimes, before we heal, we need to see the truth. Let's look at a real example. Imagine someone who is always helping others. They always reply fast. They always say yes. People think they are kind and reliable, but inside they feel tired. One day, they decide to set a boundary. They reply later. They say, "I can't help this time." This sounds small, but it feels very big inside. They feel guilty. They feel worried. They think, will people still like me? The difficult part is not the action. The difficult part is what it shows. It shows fear. It shows how they see themselves. This is why self-care can feel uncomfortable. It changes how you see yourself. Or think about someone who wants to rest but feels guilty when they rest. They sit down, but their mind says, "You should be working." Why? Because maybe they believe their value comes from being busy. So resting feels wrong. Again, self-care is not only about the action. It is about what you believe inside. This is why self-care is not only about routines. It is about your relationship with yourself. Many people ask, what habit should I start? But maybe a better question is, how can I listen to myself more? Because if you only follow routines, it can become pressure. But if you build a relationship, it becomes understanding. You start to ask, what do I need right now? And that question is simple but also very brave. Being present with yourself is not easy. We live in a world full of distraction. There is always something to watch, to read, to scroll. It is easy to avoid silence. But in silence, you can hear your real feelings. That is why small actions can feel powerful. Going for a walk without music. Eating without your phone. Sitting quietly for a few minutes. Saying no when you feel tired. These things are simple, but they bring you back to yourself. And when you start coming back to yourself, something slowly changes. Self-care is no longer something you do. It becomes something you understand. Sleep becomes your body asking for help. Boundaries become your emotions asking for respect. Rest becomes your mind asking for safety. And when you listen, even a little, you start to trust yourself more. Not in a loud way, in a quiet way. You start to feel, I am here for myself. So maybe self-care is not always beautiful. Maybe it is not always relaxing or easy. Sometimes it is slow. Sometimes it is uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels like sadness before it feels like peace. But that does not mean it is wrong. It means it is real. If self-care feels hard for you right now, maybe that is not a bad sign. Maybe it means you are starting to see yourself more clearly. Maybe it means you are getting closer to yourself. And slowly, through small choices, you are becoming someone new. Not all at once. Not in a big way. But step by step. And one day, you may notice something has changed. The things that felt difficult before now feel natural. Boundaries feel easier. Rest feels safe. Honesty feels lighter. And taking care of yourself is no longer something you try to do sometimes. It becomes something you do every day quietly, like a promise to yourself. Today, I want to talk about something that almost all of us try to avoid in life. Problems. No one wakes up in the morning and hopes to have a hard day. We all want things to be easier, less stressful, and more under control. But what if the things you are trying to avoid are actually the things helping you grow? Instead of starting with ideas, let me tell you about a movie that stayed in my mind for a long time. It is called The Pursuit of Happiness. It is a true story about a man named Chris Gardner, and a time in his life when everything seemed to fall apart. At the beginning, Chris was just a normal person. He had a family, a young son, and a dream to build a better future. But then, things went wrong. He used all his money to sell medical machines, but no one wanted to buy them. Slowly, he started to lose everything. Bills kept coming. Stress kept growing. His wife, feeling tired and overwhelmed, decided to leave. And suddenly, Chris was alone, taking care of his son, with almost nothing. They lost their home. They had no stable place to live. Some nights, they stayed in shelters. Some nights, they had nowhere to go. There is one scene that many people never forget. Chris and his son hiding in a public restroom. He locks the door and tells his son it is just a game, while someone is knocking outside. It is a quiet, but very painful moment. You can feel how tired he is, how scared he is, and how much pressure he is carrying. And if many of us were in that situation, we might stop. We might feel like it is too much. But Chris did not stop. He decided to apply for an internship at a stock company, a job with no salary, where only one person would be chosen at the end. Even so, he kept going. Every day, he moved from place to place, trying to survive and follow his dream at the same time. He worked harder than others. He used every small chance he had. He showed up, even when he was tired, even when he was afraid, even when life gave him many reasons to quit. And slowly, step by step, his life began to change. After watching this movie, I sat quietly for a long time, and I realized something simple, but very real. Chris did not move forward because his life was easy. He moved forward, even when his life was falling apart. And maybe that is why this story stayed with me. Because it reminded me of something we often hear. There is a famous quote you have probably heard before. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. At first, it sounds very powerful. It makes us believe that every difficult moment will automatically turn us into a stronger person. And in some way, it is true. But I think this idea is missing something important. Because not every hard experience makes you stronger by itself. Some moments can leave you feeling tired, confused, or even stuck. Just going through something difficult does not always change you. What really makes the difference is what you do after that moment. Do you give up? Or do you keep going? Do you avoid it? Or do you try to understand it? Do you carry the pain? Or do you learn something from it? Strength does not come from the difficulty alone. It comes from your choice to continue, to reflect, and to grow. So maybe a more complete way to say it is this. What doesn't kill you can make you stronger if you choose to learn from it. And maybe that is also the difference between people who feel stuck and people who slowly move forward. If you look at your own life, you may notice something. When a problem happens, your first thought is often, how can I make this go away? A mistake, a failure, an unexpected situation. We do not want it. We want to fix it quickly. or avoid it. And this is normal. No one likes feeling uncomfortable. No one likes feeling unsure or out of control. But if you look a little deeper, especially from psychology, you may see something different. The human brain is made to adapt. And to adapt, it needs challenge. Without difficulty, there is very little growth. You cannot build patience when everything is easy. You cannot learn emotional control when nothing upsets you. You cannot become flexible when everything goes as planned. Many important skills only grow when we face something hard. Many people believe a good life is smooth life, a life without problems. But if you look back at your life, was it really the easy moments that changed you? Or was it the moments when you felt lost? When you made mistakes and had to stand up and try again, that slowly made you stronger? I'm sure that if you think about it honestly, the moments that shaped you the most were not the comfortable ones. They were the times you did not know what to do, but still chose to move forward. The times you felt unsure, but did not stop. The times things did not go your way, but you learned something important from it. Because growth does not happen when everything is easy. It happens when life challenges you, and you decide not to give up on yourself. Maybe problems are not stopping your progress. Maybe they are part of your progress. Every problem makes you pause, think again, and adjust. In a way, difficulty is information. It shows you what is not working, what needs to change, and what you did not see before. Learning from problems starts with a small change in how you see them. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you can gently ask, "What is this teaching me?" This does not mean you must like the problem or pretend it is easy. It simply means you are open to learning from it. In psychology, this is called reframing. When you change the meaning of an experience, you change how you feel about it. The situation may stay the same, but your inner experience becomes different. If you see a problem as proof that you are not good enough, you will feel discouraged. But if you see it as part of learning, you will feel curious and keep going. Over time, this small shift creates a big change. You become less afraid of problems. You do not panic when things go wrong. You become calmer and more flexible. And most importantly, you start to trust yourself. You begin to believe, "I can handle this." And when you believe that, you are no longer stuck. You start moving again. Not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. If one day you look back at your life, you may see that your most important lessons did not come from easy days. They came from confusion, from mistakes, from moments when you did not know what to do next. So if you're facing a problem right now, do not rush to push it away. Do not quickly decide that everything is bad. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and gently ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" No one really teaches you how to deal with your own mind. People teach you how to study, how to work, how to be better. But no one teaches you what to do. When your thoughts become too loud, when you start to overthink, when you feel lost, when you don't understand yourself. And because of that, Many of us grow up strong on the outside, but confused on the inside. Today, we are going to talk about something that truly matters: how to become stronger, not on the outside, but on the inside. Because in life, we cannot always control what happens to us. Things change, people come and go, and sometimes things don't go the way we expect. And honestly, I really wish someone had told me this earlier. I wish I had understood these ideas when I was younger, because there were times I felt completely lost, and I didn't know what to do. I thought I had to fix everything. I thought I had to become better, faster, stronger, all at once. But now I understand something different. Becoming strong is not about rushing. It is not about changing everything in one day. It is about understanding yourself. Slowly, gently, little by little. So today, I want to share with you 5 simple ideas that can help you become mentally stronger, calmer, and more peaceful, one step at a time. The first thing is this: strong people do not avoid pain, but they also do not let pain control their whole life. When something difficult happens, they don't run away, but they also don't stay inside that feeling forever. Instead, they pause and say, "This is painful, and it's okay to feel this." Because they understand something very important. Pain is not a mistake. It is a natural part of being human. Think about it like this. Pain is like the rain. When the rain comes, you cannot stop it. You cannot tell the sky to go back. But you also know the rain will not last forever. If you stand in the rain and keep asking, "Why is it raining? Why now? Why me?" you only make yourself more tired. But if you accept it, if you say, "Okay, it's raining," you can move through it. You can walk slowly. You can find shelter. You can wait. And sooner or later, the sky becomes clear again. Strong people see pain in the same way. They feel it, but they don't fight it again and again in their mind. They don't repeat the story. They don't hold it too tightly, because they know if they stay too long in that moment, they will miss what is still moving forward in life. So they allow the feeling, they accept what happened, and then, little by little, they let it pass. The second thing is this: strong people are not afraid of being alone, because they understand what time alone really does for the mind. Many people feel uncomfortable when they are alone. They quickly reach for their phone, turn on music, or look for someone to talk to. Not because they truly need it, but because silence feels unfamiliar. But strong people see it differently. They know that being alone is not empty time. It is important time. There is a simple idea in science that explains this. When you are always busy and distracted, your brain stays in doing mode, focusing on tasks and outside information. But when you slow down and spend time alone, your brain shifts into a different state, often called the default mode, where it begins to process your experiences, understand your emotions, and connect ideas. In other words, your brain needs quiet time to understand your life. That is why after a calm walk alone or a quiet moment without your phone, you sometimes feel clearer, lighter, and more grounded, even if nothing around you has changed. Strong people learn to use this time. They sit with their thoughts, not to overthink, but to observe. They reflect a little, listen to themselves, and slowly understand who they are and what they really need. So, being alone is no longer something to escape from. It becomes a place to return to, a place to rest, recharge, and grow. And when you are comfortable being alone, something very important changes. You are no longer afraid of losing people, because your peace does not depend only on them. And when that fear becomes smaller, you feel more free. The third thing is this: strong people do not overthink everything. Not because they don't have many thoughts, but because they understand how the mind works. They know the mind is always active, always trying to explain, predict, and protect. But in doing that, it often creates stories that are not fully real. It takes a small detail and turns it into a big conclusion. It fills the gaps with fear, doubt, and assumption. So overthinking is not always about a real problem. It is often just the mind trying too hard to feel safe. Strong people understand this, so they don't follow every thought. They pause, they step back, and they ask a simple question. Is this really true? Or is this just a story in my head? Because they know something very important. A thought can feel real, but that doesn't make it true. There is a simple idea that says, don't believe everything you think. And when you truly understand this, everything becomes lighter. You stop reacting to every thought. You stop trying to solve every possible situation. You stop guessing what other people think. Instead, you observe your thoughts. Like clouds in the sky, they come and they go, but you don't need to hold on to them. And because of that, you can stay simple, you can stay present, and you can focus on what is actually real, not what your mind is creating. The fourth thing is this: strong people focus on their own journey. Not because they ignore others, but because they understand how comparison really works in the mind. In psychology, there is something called social comparison theory. It explains that we naturally compare ourselves with others to understand where we stand. But the problem is, our brain often compares in an unfair way. We compare our behind the scenes with someone else's highlight. We see their results, their success, their progress, but we don't see their struggles, their timing, or their starting point. And because of that, comparison does not give us truth. It creates pressure, doubt, and a feeling of not enough. Strong people understand this, so they don't use others as the main standard. Instead, they shift the focus back to themselves. They ask a different question, not, am I better than them? But, am I better than who I was yesterday? Because that is the only comparison that is fair and useful. They know that growth is personal. Timing is different for everyone. Some people move fast. Some move slow. Some find their path early. Some take more time. And none of that defines their value. So instead of rushing or feeling behind, they take small steps, one day at a time. They respect their own pace. They trust their own path because they understand something very simple, but very powerful. Life is not a race against other people. It is a journey where you learn, grow, and become a better version of yourself, step by step. And the fifth thing is this: strong people know how to accept things. Not because life is always easy for them, but because they understand something very deep. There are many things in life we simply cannot change. The past cannot be changed. Some situations are out of our control, and some people are not meant to stay forever. And I know, this is not easy to accept. I really know, because I've been there too, trying to hold on, trying to understand, asking why did this happen? Again and again. And it only makes you more tired. But slowly, you begin to see something. Acceptance is not giving up. It is not saying this is okay. It is saying this is real. It is stopping the fight with what has already happened. And when you stop that fight, something inside you becomes lighter. Strong people don't waste their energy on what they cannot change. They don't stay in regret. They don't stay in blame. Instead, they take a deep breath and say, this is what it is. And from that moment, they choose to move forward. And maybe the next time something painful happens, instead of running away, you just sit with it for a moment and say, it's okay to feel this. Maybe the next time you are alone, instead of feeling lonely, you try to enjoy a quiet moment. Maybe with a cup of tea, or just by breathing slowly. Maybe the next time your mind starts to overthink, you pause and ask yourself, is this really true? Maybe the next time you compare yourself with someone else, you stop and say, I will focus on my own path. And maybe the next time something does not go your way, you take a deep breath and say, I accept this, and I will move forward. These small moments may not look big, but over time, they will change you slowly. You will feel stronger, calmer, and more peaceful. Because in the end, strength is not about controlling everything outside. It is about understanding and guiding what is inside. And I truly hope even just one small idea from this message stays with you. Just one thought, one sentence, one small shift. Because sometimes, one small change in the way you see things can slowly change the way you live your life. And you deserve that kind of peace. One step, one day, at a time. The real competition was never outside. It was always inside. It is not about being better than them. It is about becoming better than who you used to be. This shift may sound small, but it changes everything. When you turn your focus inward, your energy comes back to you. You are no longer wasting it on comparison. You are investing it in growth. You stop asking, who is ahead of me? And you start asking, what is one small step I can take today? And this question is powerful because it is simple. It does not require you to be perfect. It only asks you to move forward. Maybe today you are a little calmer than before. You react less. You understand more. Maybe you take better care of your body. Maybe you speak more kindly to yourself. These changes are small and most people will not notice them. But they are real. And over time, they build a strong, stable version of you. Imagine again two people walking a long road. One keeps looking left and right, always checking others. Their mind is noisy. Their steps feel heavy. They're always thinking about how far they are from someone else. The other person walks at their own pace. They look forward, but also inward. They focus on one thing only, just one step better than yesterday. And step by step, they become stronger, more confident, more peaceful. Not because they defeated someone else, but because they stayed true to their own journey. This is the difference between external competition and internal growth. External competition creates pressure. It makes you feel like you are always behind. Internal growth creates freedom. It helps you see that you are already moving forward, even if it is slow. So maybe the goal of life is not to win against others. Maybe it is not to prove that you are better than someone else. Maybe the goal is much simpler and much deeper. To not give up on becoming a better version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, life is not a scoreboard. There is no final ranking. There is no moment where you can say, "Now I am better than everyone." And even if there was, would it really make you feel at peace? Real peace comes from something else. It comes from knowing that you are growing, that you are improving, that you are becoming someone you can respect. So today, you don't need to run faster than anyone. You don't need to compare your life with someone else's highlight. You don't need to prove anything to the world. You only need to pause and ask yourself one simple question. Am I a little better than yesterday? If the answer is yes, even just a little, then you are already on the right path. And that is a victory no one can take away from you. You don't have to become someone else to feel worthy. You just need to come back to yourself a little more each day. Trust yourself, even in small moments, even when it feels uncertain, because that's where real strength begins. And if this message resonated with you, you can continue this journey with me. Just tap into the playlist and explore more reflections on inner strength, self-trust, and becoming the person you're meant to be.